Cloud. Okay, so today we have with us, she goes by Coach Ayana O. Ayana, can you please pronounce your last name?
Onura.
Onura, right. And we are very happy to have you present with us. Sorry for the wind in my background. I'll soon mute. This is as part of our well-being challenge. We decided to open this up to the entire school. And then Ayana will also be working with those of you who decided to join the well-being challenge, and I'll send out more information on July 30th, and she'll be working with you throughout Canvas as well. So I'm going to take this time to just read Ayana's bio so that we know who she is. And then from there, it's going to be all her. All right. So Coach Ayana O is a highly transformative business and mindfulness coach, combining traditional results, proven methods, and mindfulness techniques to help individuals clear mental fog and become focused, overcome feeling overwhelmed, move past procrastination to productivity, and take decisive action to enjoy more happiness, peace, satisfaction, and success in life. Her passion and focus for helping people transition from employee to entrepreneurship and or from their current state to their desired self comes from her own transitions in life and an entrepreneurial gene passed down from generation to generation. She learned firsthand that when an entrepreneurial spirit stifles his or her ideas and passion projects, it leads to discord in all aspects of life. Ayana's coaching program is where she has found her passion and purpose collide. By allowing others to see the possibilities before them, it brings harmony into their lives through creation of new and more productive habits, accountability and taking action, turning goals and ideas into real results in their business and personal lives. Ayana has a Bachelor's of Science in Psychology from the Open University and an MBA in Business Administration with honors from the University of Liverpool. Ayana has lived in Jamaica, England, Japan, and now the United States, and has had careers in both the corporate world and as an entrepreneur. For fun, Ayana enjoys traveling 30 countries to date, volunteering, dancing, yoga, hiking, running, and spending quality time with family, friends, and herself. And so can you give Ayana a warm Harrison School of Pharmacy welcome? You can use your reactions, whatever works for you, or you can do your hand. So thank you so much for joining us. And a fun fact is, after connecting with Ayana, I realized that we went to the same high school in Jamaica. So talk about synchronicity. So, all right, Ayana, I'll hand it all over to you.
Thank you so very much, Jillian, for that beautiful introduction. And it's an honor for me to be here with you today, to share with you, because as I teach, I learn. And as I learn, I become a better teacher. So you're affording me an opportunity, which I am grateful for. This hopefully will be mutually beneficial for all of us here today. So why are we here? This is a time management workshop. It's packed with easy, effective tips and methods for you to help you to increase your productivity by improving your planning and self-organization. Those who are successful in implementing time management strategies are able to control their workload, as well as spend less of their days in a frenzy of activity, reacting to crisis after crisis. There's a decrease in their stress levels and personal productivity soars. Those highly effective individuals are able to focus on tasks with the greatest impact to them, the organizations they work in, their personal and family lives. So let's begin this journey. If you are feeling burnt out, if you have continuously or more times than not, if you find yourself overwhelmed, and self-identify as a procrastinator. If you want to do more without feeling overwhelmed, if you wish to rid yourself of stuff that you don't need, that sucks the life out of you, if you truly want to figure out what's important to you, to get clarity and achieve the success you desire, I simply request of you that you pay attention for the next 90 minutes or so and participate. In the next 90 minutes, I will show you, using 5 steps, how to beat burnout, how to become the fire rather than be left in the ashes, how to overcome overwhelm, move past procrastination, and take decisive action to enjoy more peace, satisfaction, and happiness. For you to finally stop feeling defeated and hopeless. My goal for you is at the end of our time together, for you to be on top. Top meaning triumphant, organized, and productive. For you to go from reactive to being proactive. My goal is for you to leave with the strategies and tools to not only overcome these negative afflictions, but for you to also take control, to move to productive, to manage your life and become the success you all desire to be. Here's something that I know to be true. We all wake up every single day, open our eyes with the intention of being successful. None of us wants to be a failure at anything in any area of our lives. And what I have come to realize through studies and through my lived experience and research is that the foundation of a successful life is rooted in effective time management. So I ask you to pay attention, take notes, participate as much or as little as you choose. Type your questions in the chat, your comments, anything that jumps out at you. I will run this session with presenting information and periodically pause to engage with you. The last 10 minutes will be spent with an open Q&A forum. So, multitasking is something that we're encouraged to do. However, for the next few minutes we spend together of clock time, I ask that you minimize any distractions that will take your attention and focus away from you learning the effective steps to time, the 5 effective steps to time management. Does this sound like you? Are you juggling what seems to be a million projects at once, all of them important? Do you see people around you succeeding, living happy, fulfilled, and wondering, how are they able to do it? And I'm just not able to. Are you working too hard, too many hours, and burning yourself out? Are you in a position where you can't figure out how to manage everything that's vying for your time and attention? Do you feel like this lady on the screen, as though you're carrying the weight of the world on your back? At any time, any of these questions or statements resonate with you, type yes or I in the chat. So how about this? You know you can't do it all, but we try to do it all. You know that you need to get everything done, but there's some things you just have to say no to. When everything seems important, you'll be like, I'll just do better tomorrow. But tomorrow, you never do. Or you keep thinking that if you could only get through this stuff or that stuff, then you could do what you really want to do. But no matter how you try, you can never get through it. You find that you end up in the same position, same place, time and time again. Or you want a time management system that works for you, and you wonder if there is a system that works just for you is even out there. Things seem to work for a while, but then you end up right where you started, feeling overwhelmed and wanting to give up and not move forward. The real problem is that you are simply not managing your time effectively. You see, the thing is, time management is telling your money where to go rather than wondering where it went. One critical element to succeeding in today's world is optimizing your time, both professionally and personally, in a manner that yields the most ideal results. How do you tell your time where to go, rather than ending up wondering, where did my day go? You do this by planning, setting priorities, and acting quickly and decisively, all of which requires unparalleled time management. You manage your time, telling it where to go, so you do not end up squandering it on the unimportant things. Once you are able to effectively manage your time, you'll be able to make better decisions, be more successful, end indecisiveness and procrastination. You're able to achieve your goals faster. You also have the bonus benefits of boosting your confidence, increasing your self-compassion, and in your career and business, it leads to improving your reputation, allowing you to stand out, and when done effectively, increase your earning potential. If you don't manage your time, I promise you, it will manage you. You see, lack of direction, as Zig Ziglar said, is the issue, not lack of time. We all have the same 24 hours in a day, 1,440 minutes. The successful and the unsuccessful people all have the same amount of time. What sets you apart is how you allocate your most limited, most prized resource, which is outside of your health, your time. So, what's the solution? Time management. Success in almost everything. All the research I've done, all the testing I've done in my own life, and through working with my clients over the years, I have found that success in almost everything requires effective time management. Here are some of the other benefits that you will be able to utilize once you put time management into effect. Your health will improve. You will live the lifestyle you've always wanted, that you've always dreamed of. You will be able to live a life that serves you, serves your purpose, serves your creator. It will afford you to make a bigger impact in this world, for your relationships to improve, to become deeper and stronger, for you to move forward in your career if you wish to do so. Also, for you to make more money and give you more freedom. You will have truly the foundation for a successful life. So how has time management helped others succeed? I've given lots of theory. Let me back it up with evidence here. If you do a quick search and you research successful people, read their interviews, hear their TED Talks, they all accredit their success to managing their time effectively. Research has shown that 5% of people that become hugely successful in life, They make sure that 95% of their waking hours are spent working on things that are important. And Bill Gates has said that the only commodity which money can't buy, so it needs to be used wisely, is our time. If you've ever read the book, Eat That Frog, written by Brian Tracy, he shares the story of a lady who doubled her salary. She discovered what was important to her, what her most important tasks were at work. She approached her boss and said, "Hey, if I doubled my contribution, will you double my salary?" He said, "Sure." I'm pretty confident that he probably was thinking 50-50 either way. Sure enough, she doubled her contribution and he kept up end of the bargain and doubled her pay. Using the 5 steps that I'm about to share with you today, you will uncover, identify your most important tasks so that you are able to double your contribution, business, career, personal life, however you used to achieve the things that are most important to you. Utilizing time management has helped people succeed in all areas of life, and I used it to help my clients. Take, for instance, Sam James. He is the CEO of a company called Bar Prince. When Sam came to me, he was depressed. He felt stuck, overwhelmed. He felt discouraged. How many of you that are on this call today feel depressed, stuck, discouraged, lost, unsure? Using the techniques I'm sharing with you today, I was helped to guide him and get to clearly define goals and actionable steps. I am happy to report that since working with me, Sam has been able to achieve the goals that we defined for him using the actionable steps and surpass. He no longer feels trapped, depressed, discouraged. He's encouraged because he's doing the things that are most important in his life. I don't just help CEOs. Karina, for instance, she's a mother, a film student, and an aspiring entrepreneur. Work, school life balance can be a bit much. After working with her, she has reported that she has the clarity she needs to make the move forward in her life. Checks in with me to give me progress reports, and by following the steps that I'm going to share with you, she has been able to achieve the success she desires simply by using the 5 steps I'm about to share with you. For me, I don't only just share knowledge as a knowledge broker, I practice what I preach. The 5 steps that I'm sharing with you today, they have helped me achieve great success in my personal and professional life. I have been able to start a business while helping accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. I have been able to volunteer and give back to my community, to travel, to hike, to get a yoga certification, all without feeling overwhelmed and burnt out. That wasn't always the case. It was by trial and error, and I have discovered the 5 steps that I now live by, and with also you too can live a successful life. So what are the steps? If you don't have a writing tools handy, I highly recommend you get pen and a notepad or a device that you can take notes on as we get into step number 1. The first step is clarity. Clarity is power. So how do you know the right place to allocate your time? It starts with a vision, and from a vision, you set your goals. From setting goals, you are able to create a plan, and from that plan, you're able to take action, which I will go through. But the first step is becoming clear. What is important to you? Deciding and defining what's most important to you that will be beneficial to you to yield the best results for you long term. You also learn what's important to you by learning what to say no to. It's just as important as being on what to say yes to. In your workbook, on page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, on page 5, it says, step 1, set clear goals. There are several different methods for goal setting. Today, I want to share with you the 3-goal method. And that is, I encourage you now, no time like the present, to take action and write down 3 goals that you would like to achieve very soon, in the next month, before the year is over. What are your top 3 goals? Write them down right now. I'll give you a moment. And it doesn't matter. It can be a big goal, a small goal, just what's important to you. The next thing I would like for you to do is to set a deadline next to each goal. This is both steps are critical. You are 42% more likely to achieve your goals simply by writing them down. Setting a deadline is also critical. Your subconscious mind uses deadlines as a forcing system to draw you consciously and unconsciously towards achieving your goals that you have set. So 2 steps, 3 goals and a deadline. We'll figure out the details later. Simply writing down those 3 goals, you're already 42% more likely to achieve them. And another important fact why I requested you write the dates down, set a dateline. Someday, as Ferris says, is a disease that will take your dreams to the grave with you. Have you ever noticed if you like, I'll do it later, or I'll do it someday? It never comes. The days of the week are Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Unless you put a date and a time, someday will never arrive. But once you set that deadline, you are more likely than not to work towards that deadline. So that's the first. You set the goals that are important to you. You set 3. You set a deadline. The next step in effective time management is truly figuring out where you spend your time by doing time audit. It might seem clear that you have 24 hours, but do you really know how you're spending your time? You can think until you actually look at it, write it down, then you will know how you're spending your 1,440 minutes every single day. Completing a time audit, it helps you to strategize your time to best optimize your success. To be able to effectively manage your time, you truly must know how you're spending your time, what you're spending your time on. Because the only way you can improve upon something is to have a clear, realistic view of what it is and how it is. A time audit, it's quite simple actually. Here's one method. I like to take a whole month rather than a week. By writing down the goals you had set for the previous month, you track all the time you had spent on completing the goals, and then you analyze the data, gives you your time audit. So, for example, you had 3 goals you wanted to accomplish for the month of June. You then write down what the intended goal 1, intended goal 2, intended goal 3 was. Then if you already use time management tools like a time tracking app, you then get the raw data to see how you were actually spending your time. You write down the actual time spent on each activity. Then you compare that data with how much time you had actually intended or allocated for that activity. So, for example, if you had intended on writing blog articles and you had allocated 3 hours per week to writing, then you get your data from your time management app and you realize that you actually spent 6 hours on that. Sometimes we really do not realize how much time we spend on an activity. So this is why it's important. Also, I'll talk about the flow later. Once you do your time audit, you'll see what activities or what times of day and what times of day you're operating at your optimal level. In your workbook, I have given you a simple way to do a time audit if you do not have if you don't track your time using a time management app, and that would be on page 7. So it's simple. You write down the activities you do frequently, the total time you take each day, how often you do it per week, and you calculate to see how much time you're spending on each activity. Once you subtract that, then you will really see how much time you have left to do everything else. These activities that I would like for you to fill out on page 7 are the activities that you always do. This can help you decide to figure out, okay, I can take 10 minutes from here or 5 minutes from there. How can you become more effective with your time by allocating more or less time to different areas? And you may realize that you're spending time on activities that you truly don't want to. Unless you do a time audit, you really have no clear indication. You can assume and guess, but it's better to spend the time and do a time audit because it's hugely beneficial in the long run. So some of the time management tools to track your time, if you don't have any, if you're not already utilizing them, popular ones are Toggle, Focus Me, Rescue Time, Tick, Harvest, Clockify, and many of them have a free version that you can download their apps. If that's not you, simply pen and paper in your diary. I'm old school like that, so I will decide how much time I want to spend on a goal, and when I go to work on that task or that goal, I set my timer and I record how much time I actually spent. I'm not big on having too many apps. Then you truly get to see, okay, how much time I have spent. For those, all right. Step number 3, doing a data dump. This is where you put all your to-do list in one place, whether you write it out on a A4 sheet of paper, on your notes in your smartphones, or in a Word document. You simply write everything you possibly can think of that needs to get done. Errands, meetings, appointments, projects. You clear out all the to-do lists that are floating around in your mind. This is crucial. Yes, the mind is a beautiful and powerful tool, but think of it as a laptop, a phone. You open up one program, it runs efficiently and smoothly. The more programs you open up, it pulls on the hard drive, on the processing system, and slows it down. Your mind operates in a similar fashion. So if you're constantly keeping all the reminders, all your checklist in your head, that's how you get to forgetting something. Oh, I forgot that. Or, oh, because so much is pulling on your brain power. So it's best to write it down so you empty out all the floating to-do list so that you free your mind up for problem solving rather than problem storing. Next, after you've written it all out, you then sort all the data, categorize it to be able to move forward. And I like to use the 4D method. The D's stand for do, delete, defer, and delegate. So delete. This should be one of the simplest and easiest lists to compile. When you look at everything that you want to do, would like to do from your data dump, with your goals that you have set for yourself, you should be able to identify all the things on those to-do lists that do not lend themselves to you achieving your goals, or that are just should and wishful things that you would like to do. You put that on the delete pile. Now, delete sounds drastic. It doesn't mean that you will never do them. However, until you achieve that goal, it's ideal, and I highly recommend you put those things aside. Putting on should goals on your list and trying to accomplish them is a way of procrastinating and overwhelming yourselves. Being clear on your goals, what's important to you. That's why I started with that one as number one. Clarity is powerful. Once you are clear on what it is that you want to accomplish, deleting those activities and tasks that does not lend itself to you achieving your goals should be easy and quite simple. The second step is defer. What are the things that do not need your immediate attention that can be done 30 days from now, 30 to 90 days? They don't need your attention right now. So you put them on the deferred list. Then you're left with what's left. You have two choices: to delegate or to do it yourself. When delegating, I recommend using the rule of comparative economic advantage. Some of you might already know that, but for those of you who don't know what that is, this is how that rule works. If you are able, and I'm talking dollars and cents because we can all identify with money here. If you are able to generate $200 per hour doing something, but you also have an activity that needs to be done, a task, but you can pay someone $70 an hour to do that task. The rule of comparative economic advantage says delegate that task. Spend that $70 so then you can go and do the work to generate $200. In terms of just life, living happy, productive, peace of mind, if you find that painting your garage or organizing your garage is overwhelming, it causes you to stress yourself out. Your peace of mind is better and reducing your stress level. You use the rule of comparative economic advantage here, and you delegate that to someone else. So you free up your time to do more of the things that will help you succeed. It's not just about money, it's also about your emotional and mental well-being as well. What are the trade-offs? What is it that I can delegate to others so that I can do more of the things that will lead to my success, more of the things that will allow you to be less stressed, more triumphant, more productive, being proactive rather than reactive, putting out fires. So that's how you choose how to delegate. Then you are left with all the other things that you can do. Anything that's best suited for you to do that will yield the results. The things that you are extreme, you know, this is you, this is up your lane. This is what you are great at. Nobody else does this better than you. Those are the things you do. Those are the things you spend your time on to get you to where you want to go. So those are the 4Ds. And if you've ever read Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he talks about the 4Ds in a slightly different way. And it's also the Eisenhower method. It's called the quadrants, quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. And here it's, for example, in quadrant 1, those are activities that are urgent. And this is in your workbook on page 7, 8, 9, page 10, I believe. And you identify those activities that are urgent and important. Those that are important because they fulfill your key responsibilities, but they're urgent because you have that deadline. You also have step 2, which are, they're urgent, but they're important, but not urgent. These are the items that fit into your long range plan. They may be put off for a later date, but you still get them done. It's like the deferred. It doesn't need your time or attention in, for another month, 2 months, 3 months. That's important, but not urgent. Same as deferred. Then there's not urgent or important. They're quick, easy tasks that gives you a sense of accomplishment. Or the ones that cause you overwhelm. Those are the ones you delegate. And then those are the ones that should be, those are the ones that you should give to somebody else. Using the rule of comparative economic advantage, analyze your activities to see what your tasks, to see what those are, and then you delegate them. Because most of us love to live in quadrant 1, which is putting out fires, attending to crisis. Whereas if we do the time audit, we do the data dump, look at it, look at the big picture in front of us, you're able to plan to be proactive rather than reactive. So when your phone pings with that email, but you're halfway through working on your writing blog, you know that you have delegated that time, you're doing it. You're not reacting to an email because you have already scheduled time to answer all emails and suss them out. When a friend calls you to say, let's go for a drink, but you have already allocated time to spending time with your family, which is important to you. You know what's important. You can say no. That's the art of saying no as well to things that do not serve you. And you would have allocated your time and not pack your schedule, by the way, to leave time, to leave room for life to happen, because life does happen. Which brings us to the scheduling. You know what you need to do. So you take out your planner, your calendar, and you start scheduling. Scheduling and setting reminders. You have a goal, it can seem big, and that causes people overwhelm. We overwhelm ourselves by trying to eat an entire elephant, trying to get it all done in one setting. So this is where reverse engineering comes in. You have the goal, you look at it, you have the by when date, then you break it down into smaller tasks. What projects, what activities do you need to complete to get to the bullseye? What are the steps you need to take? And for each project, each task, that will take you across the line, the finish line. You then set a by when date. You work backwards. So if your goal is to, for example, improve your health, to release 20 pounds, it might seem that's a big number. I don't know how I'm going to accomplish that. You start by setting the deadline, December 31st. What you can do is make a plan that by November 30th, you would have reached certain benchmarks. September 30th, you would have reached certain benchmarks, whether that's doing a certain number of workouts, adjusting your diet. So these are, rather than looking at this massive goal that you want to achieve, overwhelming yourselves, you break it down into bite size so that you are able to see the progress, know that you're doing it, and boost your confidence, and ultimately achieve your goals. The other thing with scheduling your activities, it goes back to, if you don't tell your time where to go, if you don't manage your time, it will manage you. If you don't wake up every day and randomly pick something to do, that would be like setting a ship to sail with no captain and no navigation system or a destination. You won't get very far. That ship will be shipwrecked in no time. Your life is like a ship. It needs a captain. You need to direct your time. So you have your goals, you set your schedule based on what you want to accomplish. Doing that, planning out a week, then the day before, identifying your most important task, what will get you closer to achieving your goals, that is critical. So you wake up knowing what you're committed to doing, rather than wondering, what am I doing today to get to that goal? Randomization with your daily activities will not get you very far. The rule is that for every minute spent in planning saves you 10 minutes. So that means you get 1,000% return on your investment of your investment of time in planning your days, weeks, and months in advance. Simply taking 10 minutes the night before to plan your day out. And I'm not talking about crazy details, just quick fire. List of things you need to accomplish, an idea of how much time you will be spending on each, and committing to spending that amount of time and blocking it out on your calendar. It does save you time the next day. You have a direction, you have a compass, your planner, your schedule is your navigation system. And reminders as well. They're critical for you to be able to know what to do. Trying to keep that to-do list and what's next in your head, I spoke about that earlier. It pulls on your operating system and weakens it. So set reminders. Another thing when it comes to planning your day and scheduling activities, things follow sequence. By doing your data dump, by identifying and reverse engineering, you can identify things that have a relationship, activities that are dependent, and you develop your schedule accordingly. For example, if I'm running errands, in the middle of my time block for running errands, I'm not going to schedule a client meeting, because that means I'm in the car. I probably won't have the distracted, don't have all the tools ready to show up for that client meeting. So I'm going to put all my errands together, the dry cleaning, the grocery shopping, the washing the vehicle through the car wash. And equally, if I am about to prepare for my taxes, I get the receipts ready. I get all the information that I know. So I show up to my tax accountant. You know, I put them in time, date order. Just spending that time to organize and prepare for the task at hand. So when my accountant is asking me questions, I have the information, I have the data. And by the way, this is truth. Preparing for each task and recognizing activities that are dependent and grouping them together and building my schedule accordingly has saved me time. I have regained, not that it was ever lost, but I get more time to do the things that I truly want to do. Spend less time being reactive simply by planning ahead and grouping tasks that are dependent on each other. When you don't set yourself up and sequence and schedule, you're doing busy work. And what busy work does, it actually kills your productivity. Here comes into play the time, using the time planner as well. Time management apps, for those of you who are tech savvy and you like apps, they are actually quite useful to help keep you organized so that it contains everything planned that you need, all the tasks. Because what happens is, without that, you're setting up yourself for failure. People generally have an idea of what they want to accomplish, but no, they don't have the process. And without the process, you'll just be randomly doing activities and spending your valuable asset, your time, doing things that probably you shouldn't have been doing, or doing them at the wrong time of day, in the wrong sequence. And it ends up costing you more. So to develop a schedule, just to remind you, break big tasks into smaller parts. Write down the small parts of the big task. And when you're making your schedule, work in time blocks as well as schedule breaks. Again, this is one thing I learned the hard way. I used to pack my calendar from morning till night, running myself ragged. That's where the burnout comes from. Trying to do so much, trying to do it all. Once I learned about the delegating, clearly identifying what is truly important to me, I was able to delete some stuff and schedule breaks in between. Whether it's a physical activity or a mental activity, we're human beings. We do not have infinite energy. Just like your batteries on your phones, once you've used it for a bit, it needs recharging. We need that. When you do a task, and a lot of us think that doing mental work, we don't realize how much energy we dispense. And you wonder why you're tired, because you jump from one thing to the next. You must schedule those breaks so that you are able to recharge, whether it's 5 minutes or 25 minutes in between. The Pomodoro rule says that for every 25 minutes of work you do, you should take a 5-minute break. That doesn't mean you stop if you're in the flow, if you're in the groove of things every 25 minutes. Simply be aware that if you have put in an hour's worth of work, you're going to take a 10-minute break, whether it's just to have a conversation with your colleague, check in with a loved one, or sit in meditation. If you put in 2 hours worth of continuous work, take 20 minutes, but you have to honor that. Otherwise, that burnout, procrastinating feeling that you have been experienced will consistently perpetuate. It'll be a never-ending cycle. You have to put in. You can't serve from an empty cup. And when you don't put breaks in your schedule, that's what happens. You'll be running on E, running on fumes for a very long time, and eventually your life will be not as you choose, not as you wish. So one more thing, I know I said 5 steps, but there is a 6th that I believe is critical and important. Once you have decided what's important, you set your schedule, you set your reminders, it is critical, it is vital that you honor your scheduled calendar activities. You invested your time to go through the process of identifying your goals, realizing what was important, doing the data dump, breaking down the big goal into smaller manageable tasks. You've looked at what activities needed to be done, and you've grouped them accordingly. You've plugged them into your calendar. So when the reminder pops up for you to start a task, simply honor it. Just as you would honor a doctor's appointment, just as you would honor your clients, your colleagues in front of you at a scheduled meeting, honor what you have scheduled on your activities. I know I can see some of you in here and you're listening attentively. You're honoring this scheduled time. You're not playing on your phones. You're not answering text messages. Honor all activities in this manner as well. If you have scheduled self-care time, honor that. If you have scheduled well-being, fitness time, honor that. If you have scheduled things for a hobby, honor that. Self-development, CPD, career, furthering your career, studying, honor that. Because you would have also scheduled in your calendar time for yourself. Honoring your scheduled activities really and truly leads to the elimination of overwhelm, procrastination, and burnout. So just to recap the 5 steps: set goals. Start with 3. Keep it simple, stupid. Do a time audit to see how you're currently spending your time, to know where you can reallocate some of those minutes that you're probably spending on tasks and activities that you would rather not. Clear your mind of all your to-do list floating around, so you free up that hard drive for maximizing your productivity, operating at optimal level. You then sort and sift all the data from your list. And 5th, you organize it and schedule your activities accordingly. A few tips as well. Show up prepared for each task. Remember to set a time limit so that you're not spending copious amounts of time on one thing, so that you have balance. Add buffer time, and what that simply means is adding time in between activities for you to regroup, to re-energize, whatever you need. Embrace time management technology. If you're not good at keeping time the old school traditional way of setting timers, use the law of comparative economic advantage. This is critical. If you're not using this, it means you are troubled with being a perfectionist. Perfectionists want to do everything on their own. Trust, have faith, and allow somebody to do things that they're good at so that you can focus on your area of genius, things that you are more than competent, that you excel at doing. Because there is nothing so useless as doing efficiently that which should not have been done at all. With all that, you say yes to your success. Take these 5 steps. Use the worksheet, the workbook, so that you can achieve the well-being in your life, to manage your time, to create that foundation. And I leave you with this, that if your schedule is not working for you, it can be as simple as just making a few changes. This is an ongoing process. It's never one and done. We evolve as beings. What serves you 10 years ago, the methodology, the techniques, will not be serving you today. You have lived, you have grown, you have learned, you have evolved. And it's the same thing with your time management tools and techniques. The way you have to constantly improve. And if that sounds overwhelming, then you simply are making the choice. Are you going to say yes to your success? Are you saying yes to being triumphant, organized, and productive? Or do you want to stay stuck, burnt out, overwhelmed, procrastinating, wasting your most valuable asset? If the answer is to be productive, to be triumphant, to be organized, utilizing these 5 steps, going over them once a month, once a quarter, having several iterations of how you set goals, how you're spending your time, doing a time audit, doing your data dump, I promise you, you will succeed. So that's it. And I have not been watching the chat, and let me start my camera and stop sharing. Awesome. So thank you all for attending and being attentive. Jeline says, question 1, what happens when it appears when the task gets delegated and they're not done and you feel you have to do the task that was delegated? Delegation requires trust, and for us to take responsibility and for others to take responsibility. There will be circumstances in life where you give a task to others and they're supposed to do it. They won't necessarily do it for whatever reason. They don't manage their time effectively, or they bite off more than they can chew. It will be disappointing. It's also challenging and frustrating. However, if you manage your time effectively, there should be room for you to adjust and then do that task. That's why I don't recommend you pack your calendar all the way out. You have to leave room for when these circumstances happen. And just accept that that is a part of life. What is that teaching you, showing you? It doesn't mean that you never delegate. The lesson may be for you to learn to not delegate to that person again, or to learn that patience and compassion. Life never goes according to plan. Looking at the bigger picture rather than remaining upset and frustrated with somebody didn't do it, now I'm going to have to do it. That's going to happen. At first, accepting that, ultimately, it's how you respond to that. You can choose to accept it for what it is. It's a situation, it's a scenario, and then take your calendar, take your to-do list, and figure out, how am I going to do this? How am I going to accomplish this task? Rather than dispensing time and energy being upset, being worried, being frustrated. Accepting things they are. Situations are just that, situations. They're neither good nor bad until we attach emotions and labels to them. And if you operate from a space of fear, that, you know, constantly worried, there's no trust. You have to trust that people will do what they're supposed to do, that they're paid to do, that they're asked to do, that they commit themselves to do. And this is all part of our well-being in life in general, not just in our work and professional lives, but in our personal lives. When you ask your partner to empty the trash and they don't, or you ask your children to tidy up and pick up their toys and they don't, we constantly have to navigate these things, and we tend to feel like, oh, might as well I just do it myself. But how is that serving you? How is that serving them? To constantly, every time something doesn't go the way you expected when you delegate, to do it yourself. That's something to think about. At the end of the day, we can't do it all. And that's just a matter of fact. Somebody says, it's difficult to narrow my professional responsibilities down to 3 goals. Is it okay to have different groups of goals for different aspects? Absolutely, which brings me to the workbook. If you look on page 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, page 6, there is a nifty sheet and it's got priorities. So it's for the top 5, and it starts out with priority 5, and it asks you to identify if you've got nothing else done during this time period, whatever that time period is, I would like to. And if you use the order priority sequence, then you are able to do that. And you can actually do that 3 goal method technique for different areas of your life. You can do it for your health. You can do it for different aspects of the professional and the personal. And then you put it all together when you go to plug in and schedule your activities, so that you're able to not forget one thing over here, neglect something over there. So I do have I complete several of these sheets so that I'm able to get my goals, prioritize them, and then put them all together for different areas of my life. Another question. Yes.
1 second. Somebody sent a question privately before the one that you're going to read now. So they were wondering if you had any tips on how to manage your time when you're not in control of your schedule for some parts of your day. So for example, we have a lot of clinicians when clinic goes over, or you're in a class and the class goes over, like a student is confused and they need their help. So how do you navigate that? So you probably did a very good job of scheduling your time, but then they're probably larger than you probably would have built in, gets over, like
Okay.
the clinic and their classes. Or first, we have some staff members here, probably they were going to do something and maybe something came up for something else.
Sure. So I'm going to propose a scenario and you tell me if this is correct. You scheduled a 90-minute class, but then you have studies, clinic students. The 90-minute is up. You're now into 2 hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes. Is that kind of where we're going with this? Okay. So you should have had buffer time in between that class ending and your next activity. More than 15 minutes, if possible. If that's not possible, again, life happens. You then take 5 minutes and you look at what you were supposed to be doing next. And you do an assessment and adjust as you go along. it's things don't always happen. And you also have to, when it comes to honoring your scheduled activity, and this comes with the art of saying no. If you have a student in front of you that it's not a life and death situation, and they've gone into all your buffer time and going over into your next scheduled activity, you simply say, I want to continue to help, or however you may choose to phrase it, and then you schedule time with them to go back to that activity. I am not versed in how academia works and how that works and how well that will be tolerated. But until we start honoring ourselves and showing people that they have to honor our time, they will not. If you constantly allow somebody, you schedule a call for 30 minutes and 50 minutes you're still going and no closer to ending that call, it is your responsibility to say, I have something else on my schedule that requires my time and attention. We need to continue this at a later time and date. And that is one of the hardest things for us to do, is to say no, especially when we have people in front of us. And for those of you, Julian, did you share the art of saying no in the group?
So for those who are doing the well-being challenge, we'll be looking at that a little bit more. It will be in Canvas.
So you have to get comfortable with saying no. No is a complete sentence. It means it needs no further explanation. And we need to take the negative connotations of saying no. That is a personal journey that we all need to take to honor ourselves and to honor others. If you told me I can give you 20 minutes of your time, I need to honor and respect that. And you show people by leading by example. It's a slow burn, but I promise you it works. It's challenging at first, but it eventually, people will adapt when they realize, okay, she said 20 minutes and she's keeping time, then you do that. And then this stops. And here's why this is important for you to do as well. If you let people suck up your time and energy that you hadn't allocated for them, once you have exited that interaction, you're feeling frustrated, you're annoyed with yourself, you're annoyed with the person, you're beating yourself up, and it's a distraction. It's using your energy, your emotional energy, to deal with those negative emotions for something that you coulda, woulda, shoulda. So honor other people's time and honor yours. It's like, I don't show up to a meeting without an agenda. This is where I'm like, show up to each activity, each task prepared. Remember, for every 10 minutes you spend planning, preparing, you save yourself time. So that's key, that's critical. That for me personally was a challenge in the beginning. I'm spending time planning when I really need to be doing this, that, and the other. And that is planning, preparation, being proactive, is living in quadrant 2. And eventually it takes you out of quadrant 1, which is putting out fires, attending to crisis after crisis. It does take a bit of getting used to, but just the health benefits alone, that trade-off of doing that is magnificent. Now, I'm not saying you'll never be stressed and annoyed, because life happens, but you're better able to deal with it. Also because you have developed that system of handling, you have been proactive. So when things happen, you are less reactive, and you can actually literally take a moment and decide how you're going to address the situation at hand, how you're going to address that crisis. You're better able to think clearly. Should I be doing this? Should I be putting out this fire? Does it serve my goals, my needs in the end? And here comes another critical point. This requires you to be selfish. I heard my aunt telling me almost 2 decades ago, you have to be selfish to be selfless. And I thought, that's a bunch of nonsense. That doesn't make sense. But if you aren't selfish with your time by honoring your scheduled activities, taking care of yourself, being selfish with asking people to what's the word I'm looking for? Not appreciate, but to not value. I've lost the word that I'm looking for. To honor. That's the word. To respect your time. Then you will be constantly battling with the thoughts, the emotions of dealing with other stuff, and not operating at an optimal level. You can't serve from an empty cup. You should only be serving from overflow. You get to that place of being able to serve from overflow by managing your time, by honoring it. And that requires a bit of selfishness to be able to be selfless, to make a bigger impact in the world, to do more of the things you love and enjoy, to earn more money, to have more peace and joy and more success, whatever that success looks like for you.
We had 2 more questions. One from Amber. She was asking, are there tips when you're moving from one unrelated task to another? So sometimes, I guess, faculty, they'll move from clinic to teaching, probably to serving on a committee, or maybe staff members. They'll also move from supporting different people, like in accounting, they probably support different departments or doing one task versus another. I'm more intricately familiar with faculty, but trying to do different things. So as they move from that, and then Kim had another question in terms of, do you have a preference with shorter blocks of time versus lengthier time?
Okay, so to address the first, moving from one task to the next, showing up to a task prepared, and if you are moving to a task that you're not prepared for, it will best serve you and the people that you're serving to request and ask for and take a few moments to get clear on what that task is. Preparation is key. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So if you're switching from a task that you don't have an agenda for, a list of outcomes already predetermined, just take 5-10 minutes and get prepared at the beginning of the task so that you're able to transition. And also that's why it's required that you have that break. And I know that's not always easy to do. You're moving and shaking and making a difference in this world and doing you don't always have 5, 10, 15 minutes break to transition. Here's a quick, simple, easy way. It takes only 1 minute. And that's simply to bring your attention and your focus on your breath. Taking 1 minute and mindfully breathing definitely works wonders. And if you experience anxiety and overwhelm, getting into the habit of recognizing what that is and simply few inhales and exhales, they shift you immensely. It makes a huge difference. So that's one way for a quick spin around from transitioning. So mindful breathing and taking 5 minutes to communicate with those that you're working with a task with, or just to plan out, 5 minutes, and then you have the rest of the time to knock it all out because you have clarity and things that you know you will be accomplishing. Again, it goes back to there's nothing being done efficiently that shouldn't have been done in the first place. And then for the next one, which was if I have a preference over strategies utilizing small time blocks. So when you do your time audit, it will reveal to you your flow. When you are in your flow, when you're operating at an optimal level. For me, intellectual tasks such as writing and creating, I tried my very best for years to change my schedule to do it during the daytime. It doesn't work for me. My flow is 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. So content writing, analyzing data, I save for those hours because what I accomplish in those hours at any other time will take me double the time. I also realized that I don't like waking up the first thing and working out or running. I like to do it at 5, 6 o'clock in the evening, so I do it then. Your flow and journaling, reflective journaling helps you. Just spending 5 minutes a day to reflect on how you felt at different times of the day. Over time, you will realize what activities do I enjoy doing more at certain times of the day. So that will definitely help you to recognize what your flow is. Now you can't always operate in that flow zone. And it comes back to being mindful when you are having to do things that are stretching you, are a little bit more tedious, they're a little bit more challenging. It's being mindful and being present. Present awareness is something that can significantly positively impacts your life. Focusing at the task at hand, doing what needs to be done rather than being in your own head. I don't like doing this. I shouldn't be doing this. This is frustrating. None of those serve you. They actually detract and take away from you being productive. Showing up at a task, acknowledging that it needs to be done, and getting to work. You find yourself getting frustrated, take that 1 minute and simply breathe. All right.
We have time for one more question, and then Lindsay had asked, I struggle with always knowing how long things will take to accomplish. How do we adequately plan our time when we may not know how long things will take?
So this is where, if you've never done something, you think you're guessing. And that's why you consistently assess and adjust. So at the end of the day, you look at, how have I spent my time? And again, this time audit, you can do a mini time audit. I had scheduled an hour to do this. It took me an hour and a half. So when you go back to do a similar activity, you know to allocate more time. And sometimes it just goes way out the park. I've had activities that I only allocated an hour. They ended up taking me 5 hours. It's hugely frustrating, but you have to give yourself grace. And you simply have to show yourself love and compassion. If you've never done it, there's no way to realistically know. And for those who tell you, oh, it took me X amount of time, maybe they have been doing it for a year. You do become more efficient the more you do a task. You make the decisions and you create your plans to the best of your ability with the knowledge and experience you have. And as you go through and you recognize and realize, be compassionate and graceful with yourself. Okay, so that actually takes me longer. Or you might surprise yourself with some certain things that didn't take me as long. And that's where you sit down and you assess and you make the necessary adjustment. Like I said, if it me saying that you constantly have to do iterations of your time management and you, oh my God, then that is also a choice. But it is a never ending process. What happens though, you create habits and you start to recognize, you start to be nicer to yourself, you start being nicer to other people, you are less stressed. When you take things as they are, know that life happens, you have shown up, you have done things to the best of your ability with the knowledge and experience you have, and you know you will go back and make the necessary adjustments. Breathe, be kind, and be compassionate. And know that there's no such thing as perfection. There is no such thing as perfection. If you're striving for perfection, you're setting yourself up for failure. There's only improvement. Yes, strive to improve, but don't weigh or bog yourself down with trying to be perfect.
Pharmacist thinks otherwise. I'm joking. They're not trained to think that way because of what is at stake. So they're often hard on themselves more than the average person.
That's where you need a lot of ease and grace for yourself. Knowing, it's knowing yourself, knowing you're doing the best that you can, and you are constantly improving on who you are and how you do things. That celebrate that and celebrate you for doing that. I commend all of you for what you do. You know, it takes a special kind of person to constantly do what you do, and there's so much expectations to be met, and you do it all, each and every one of you. And I am just grateful that you are taking the time to self-improve. And that's all you can do. Keep trying and keep doing.
So I want to thank all the faculty and staff members, especially, I work with faculty a lot, but I really am appreciative for all the staff members who join us. I want to do more so that we see everything as a family. And I did talk to Coach Ayana to let her know that we are not all pharmacists, because I'm not. And I hope this was very helpful for you and you'll decide exactly where to start as we schedule our meetings and we use scheduling assistant. One tip would be, as Coach Ayana says, put those things on your calendar so that when someone is using scheduling assistant, they'll know that you're not free. Or I guess myself, as I use scheduling assistant, if I see a little break in your schedule, I probably may think twice before I say, okay, and can we schedule a meeting? So thank you all for coming, and Coach Ayana, we really enjoyed and appreciated this. And those who are in the Wellbeing Challenge will get more. For those of you who didn't sign up, too bad. I'm joking. I'm joking, but I'm not joking. So thank you. We are respecting your time. It's 3:28 and we will end on time.
So I leave you with, definitely go through the workbook. I have given 10 tips on how to overcome procrastination. I have given you a checklist to self-identify if you're a BOP, if you're burnt out, overwhelmed, and procrastinating. For you to do some self-reflection, what causes your burnout, what's causing you to go into overwhelm, and what it's wasting your time. In order to fix the problem, you first have to identify and acknowledging it. And these are just quick exercises for you to do. I encourage you to use this workbook over and over again. And most importantly, whatever you do, continue to make a difference in your own way. Namaste.